So thanks for coming along today. My name's Joel Smith. I'm the Director of Sales at Class Limited, and I'm joined here today by Kathy Evans. Thanks for coming along, Kathy. Kathy's a Senior Partner at Crowe Horwath Findex, and really appreciate you taking a little bit of time to come and talk to us about your experience with SMSF and super reform and customer experience and customer service.
So I'm based in Albury, which is on the border of New South Wales and Victoria, with Crowe Horwath, which is part of the Findex group. I've been in the business in Albury for a tick over 20 years. We were previously in the KPMG group, and we joined what was WHK about 10 years ago. My role within the firm is that I'm the Senior Partner in the Superannuation SMSF division.
So I guess over the last couple of years particularly, you've seen a fair amount of change. The whole industry has been going through super reform. What's your experience been there?
Yeah, particularly the last 12 months is busy is maybe one word I'd use. I could probably think of a few others. Since the government announced the super reforms, and then they were sort of formalised around about 12 months ago. So leading up to 30th of June, and I'm sure I'm speaking to the converted with our crowd, just how busy that was to ensure that we were across which clients that would impact, what documentation need to be on file by 30th of June, and then how we could utilise the facilities and support that we had with our software packages to enable that to happen, because it was a very clear deadline we had to work to, and we fell across that line. And I'll tell you what, July we were all pretty exhausted, but it was worth the effort. And now we're in the process, obviously, of processing the accounts for those years and implementing those changes back to the $1.6 million transfer balance cap, and talking to clients around the change in contribution caps, etc. So yeah, certainly the last 12 months particularly has been busy, but as we all know in this industry, it never seems to sit still. There's always something that we have on the horizon.
So you guys obviously went through, you've gone through super reform as we have as an industry.
Yes.
You also went through some technology change, some platform change.
Yes.
You made a migration across to Class.
Yes.
I guess was that to set you up for super reform, or what was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, so we changed across to Class back in July 2016. So whether we had a premonition about the super reforms, I'm not sure, but it was in hindsight, it was ideal to have that change in place and bedded down before the super reforms actually came in.
Right.
So yeah, from the processing from July 16 onwards, we moved into Class, and it's been an enormous help to us to be able to then roll out all these changes that have occurred. I must admit at the time, and maybe I'm old school or what it is, but I had a certain fear factor about changing software providers, because in my experience in the accounting industry generally, when we've had those in the past, it hasn't always gone as well as we've been told it would.
Right.
So I went into that change probably with a sense of nervousness.
Yes.
It was interesting, the younger people that work in my team, they couldn't wait. They were rubbing their hands together saying, let's get on with this.
Right.
They proved to be correct, because we were up and running very quickly, processing funds. The transition period itself and the process was as smooth as we could have asked for around that. So yeah, it's certainly been a huge factor for us to be able to implement the changes that have then occurred since.
And I know that when we were talking on the phone before, you talked a lot about things like efficiencies and so on, but given that the topic of this kind of conversation is about customer experience and the level of service and the type of service as well that you subsequently have been able to provide through to your clients, really interested to hear how that has now changed subsequent to the technology change.
Yeah, look, from my aspect, because of my role from a technical and an advisory space, the real benefit to me of having the software that supports what we do is the data we're able to then mine into. So, one of the things would be what's leading into the super reforms. Well, who are the clients that are impacted by these changes? Which of our clients have balances of $1.6 million or whatever the other important ones were? We try to do a lot of work with our clients around tying their estate planning in with their superannuation. So understanding what data and documents we have on file around a client's estate planning, for their SMSF in most instances, but also bigger than that. Do they have wills? Do they have powers of attorney? Do we have that information on file?
Right.
And to be able to mine that data and say, well, here's where we think our gaps are.
Yeah.
These are the clients we can focus on. Another one that we've been doing some work on lately is which of our clients still have individual trustees of their superannuation fund. You can get that information really easily,
Right.
and then go and have the conversation with the clients. And
Right.
it just makes that process so much more smooth, more efficient, and
Yeah.
the clients see it as being very proactive. And I think that's one of the most important things.
Actually, that was going to be my next question, is what's the response been from your client base? As obviously I'm sure they would have seen in the news and in the media that there are these changes happening in the world of SMSF, but
Yep.
perhaps not understanding the impact or whether there was going to be an impact. What's the response been from your client base when you've done that proactive outreach?
They very much appreciate it. I mean, our clients expect us to be on top of these changes. They expect us to communicate that with them. And if we can be on the front foot and get information out to them in a timely manner,
Yeah.
post these types of changes, then they're very appreciative. And we would get that feedback on a regular basis. They sort of hear things, they're not sure what it means, does it impact it, does it not? So as their trusted advisor, it's really important that we are the ones that are then going to them and saying, hey, this is what we need to do, come and sit with us and we'll have a chat about it.
And so I'm also interested to know whether you're spending now more time in front of your clients and having those conversations and providing that guidance. Because part of our goal is to free you up so that you can spend more time in front of your clients. Has that proven to be the case?
Absolutely. So, if I even just look at personally my role in the last 12 or 18 months, it's very much moved away from being a compliance overview role to this advisory and proactive role.
Right.
So I guess the line that I would use around having the support of the class software is it allows me to do what I do best rather than me being caught up doing things I shouldn't be doing.
Right.
So yeah, definite change there. I've got more capacity to be able to sit with clients and talk about what I would see as the important things in their planning.
Right, okay. And how do you have that engagement with your clients? You physically going to go to see them, or do you extend access to the client view portals? I know your client base is pretty broad, and you were saying you've got some rural clients who don't even have internet access.
Correct.
So that's not an option for those
Correct.
guys.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we do. There'd be a mixture of things. We're very much offering more and more the client view portal, and we're getting a lot of take up on that from our clients. We do mail outs. We are aware that we have quite a few of our clients that don't have access to the internet, or if they do, they've got to stand up on the hill with their right arm up and their left foot out for it to work.
Yeah.
So we pick up the phone and have a chat to your client. As I said, do mail outs to them, get them in for meetings, do joint meetings, because obviously with our client base, we don't just do their self-managed super fund, often we do all their tax and accounting work as well.
Yeah.
So get them in and have a joint meeting, and it's all part of the overall planning. But it's that one-on-one, making the client feel that we are taking ownership and really caring about their personal circumstances.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So although I know you are providing a digital experience, that's not replacing the human contact and the personalised level of service.
Not at all. And in some regards, that reflects how I like to operate. The digital's great, your IT's great, and if that can get you efficiencies, then that's where your bonus is.
Yeah.
But we've still got to remember we're in a service industry, and we're here to service our clients.
Yeah.
And that they expect and want to have that contact and really appreciate it.
And then how do you measure that impact? So it sounds like there's probably a gut feel. You get a gut feel in terms of, I feel like we're delivering a better level of service now.
Yes.
And that's being appreciated.
Yeah.
Have you got some ways that you actually actively measure that?
Yeah, well, we would do regular client surveys.
Yeah.
We would also, from a measurement perspective at the moment, we would look at where we're at with, say, our lodgements and how we're tracking on our tax office lodgements, because that's a reflection of what work we've completed.
Right.
And we'd certainly be ahead on those year to date. We would also informally have conversations with clients, and probably the other one is that it would reflect in is our revenue.
Right.
So, by offering a more efficient a more timely service to clients, and then being able to add on the advisory piece, then it definitely has a positive impact on our revenue.
So that's interesting. Then. So the improved customer experience is something that you've been able to monetize.
Yes.
And clients are entirely happy with that.
I've certainly had no concerns raised over it, and it's more an appreciation of the fact that we are being proactive in that area.
And so it sounds as though, it sounds as though super reform over the last couple of years, although it's been a challenging time, because you guys have not just gone through a technology change, but then with the rest of the industry, the compliance change, understanding that, upskilling, and then working out how to take that message to your clients, and what do you tell them, and what do you advise them on next. It's been a challenge, but it's also been an opportunity. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. I think as these changes come through, the people in our industry that adopt them and take the most positive and proactive manner to deal with them will be the ones that get the benefit from an industry perspective.
Yeah. So have you got any, if you reflect back on the last sort of 12, 24 months, have you got any hints and tips? And so if you could rewind the clock to the point where maybe you made a technology change, or to where you started to embrace super reform.
Yes.
If you could rewind the clock and do it all over again, how would you do it better?
Look, I think my first one would be do your research and then make a decision. Don't procrastinate on the decision, because I think within your heart you'll know whether what you've currently got is working for you or not.
Right.
Look at the alternatives, as I said, do your assessment and then make a decision and go with it. Once you've then made that decision, it's really important to do your planning for any change.
Yeah.
To build the relationships, if the move is to class, build the relationships with the right people there to help you with the transition, because that was critical from our point of view, in that we had that ongoing support, and that made that transition as smooth as it could be.
Right.
But yeah, really my best advice would be, and I said before, I had an open fear about how this change would go.
Yeah.
Thankfully I was proven to be wrong, and in some respects I wish we'd done it 2 years earlier, but that would be probably my best advice that I'd give.
Yeah. And what was the risk that you saw by not setting yourself up to handle the changes, the compliance changes, and not to offer those kinds of support services to your clients?
Just that we were becoming certainly very inefficient. So from a business perspective, it was the superannuation area was not travelling as well as it should have.
Right.
We couldn't offer these extra services to clients that we now can, because we just didn't have the confidence in the product that we could roll out, and the timeliness of what we could roll out to be able to then look to add the value. We all have our requirements around our compliance, meeting lodgement deadlines, quarterly returns, all those things around BASs and whatnot. That's our number one priority, is to ensure clients meet that requirement and stay compliant with the tax office and other bodies. You've got to get that right first before you can then go and add the value afterwards.
Yeah.
Superannuation, as we know, is becoming more and more complicated every day. I heard the other day they're going to leave it alone in the budget this year. I think I'll believe that when I see it. But we know, as you said before, it's a constant change. But it's our job, if we're going to be working in the industry, to be actually staying on top of that and being leaders in that area. And that will create opportunities where others aren't doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, having the support of a program or software like Class to help make that easier for us is just critical.